Greetings programs, welcome back to the Game Grid. You're back with Gaming Magic Mark. It's Baldur's Gate 3, and in this video I wanted to show you the process of how you can create a custom party of up to 4 characters that you create yourself as a single player game, continue to play that without having to respec your companions, without having to use hirelings if you don't want to. Now, apologies beforehand, because I've got, as part of this process, 4 separate copies of the game running. Even on low graphic settings, my laptop is creaking, and so you might see kind of poor quality visuals and also stuttery effects as we go through this process. Now, the process used to work in early access, but because of Larian releasing the game on PC last week, the full release, and since then hotfix 1 and 2 dropped this week, we now are in a position where the old process that I made a video of about a week or 2 ago does not work anymore. It's kind of similar, but we just need to follow a different process. And that's the point of this video, is just to give you that process and let you go and do what you will with it. I find, to be honest, for me, respecking my companions and also using hirelings, I'm fine with that. It works for me in my single player run through, but you may want a custom party of up to 4 fully customized and created player characters for yourself, and that's what you can do with this process. So the first thing to do, let me show you, is to open the game from the launcher. Sorry, not from the launcher. We're not going to do that anymore. That was the old method. And not only that, but we're not going to have Steam running. Okay. So the first thing you need to do is to actually find the executable in your PC. Now mine is at Steam Libraries, Steam Apps, Common, Baldur's Gate 3, and so forth. Okay, common Baldur's Gate 3 /bin /bg3 underscore dx11. Yes, that's the DirectX 11 version. There is a bg3.exe, that's the Vulkan version, which you sometimes choose from the launcher. But again, we're not going to use the launcher. We're going straight to the executable, starting the game from there. And what's more, we're not going to involve Steam. That's the key to this process now, is that Steam must not be running. Okay, you might say, well, how am I going to get my cloud saves and all that kind of stuff? It's going to work, or it should work. I've tested it, and I'm going to show that to you now. But as we start a game, it's going to be a multiplayer game. Okay, doesn't need you to go grab any friends and all that kind of stuff. We're going to create a multiplayer game, and we're going to save it as and start it as a single player game. That's what the process always was, and we're still going to be able to do that now. The only thing you might want to do is double check your Steam is not running before you start running the game from the executable. Sometimes you exit out of Steam, you think you've closed it down, but it's actually minimized to the system tray. If there's an icon there, you can see I haven't got the icon there, but if it was there, I would find it, I would right click it, and I would exit Steam. Okay, make sure that's not running. Then you run each copy of the game from this executable. Okay, that's what I'm going to do myself, and in fact I've actually done that 4 times, and you can see them here. All right, and so with the 4 copies of the game running, the first thing I want you to say is, I want to say to you, is that you should probably turn down, this is an important step to do at this stage as well, is each copy of the game, each instance of the game, up to 4 that you're going to create and run, you need to set the video settings to low. Okay, otherwise you're going to get your PC's just going to, unless you've got a beast of a PC, it's probably going to struggle with the 4 instances going. You can see I've got an older graphics card as well, and that's actually kind of struggling even with the low settings. That's a good thing to do. And then each instance that you launch, just check that it's on low settings as well. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to click multiplayer, and when we actually click multiplayer, we're not going to click direct connect at this point, but we are going to click create, and then we're going to choose direct connect option. Okay, so nothing's going to be listed here because we're not really online with Steam or anything like that. And we click create. Okay, and that's going to go away and create the game. And at that point, then we're going to choose some options, and the option that we're going to take is to actually choose direct connections. Okay, and so I would click this box here and choose to copy to clipboard the server ID, because each of your subsequent instances of the game, the other 3 that you're going to launch, are going to connect to this multiplayer game that's being created. Couple of things to say. Also, make sure you choose. There wasn't an issue in early access because you didn't have a choice of difficulty, but Explorer, Balanced, or Tactician, you choose that here. And then the number of slots. If you go with two or three, what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to create, two or three custom characters, but the extra slot is going to be available in the party for one of your companions. If you go with four custom characters, i.e., you use four slots, that probably means that you won't be able to pull in Shadowheart or any of the other cool companions, Karlach, etc. And that might be a problem for you. So watch out for that. Make sure if you want to use an actual companion in your fourth slot, or maybe two companions, just adjust the number of slots that you're creating for this multiplayer game. Remember as well to, I'm going to leave it on 4, but remember as well to copy to clipboard that server ID. We're then going to click launch. And as I said, at this point, you would go and you would start to create your first character. Okay. And what's really great is now we can actually, I'm going to say don't reset to the tutorials. Now we can, and of course the visuals are not that great and are a bit stuttery, so I apologize for that. It's just part of the process, really. The other thing we can do for the purposes of this video, keeping it short as possible, I'm just going to click randomize. Let's see what we get. Oh, he looks interesting. A half-orc, level 1 warlock. Yeah, he might be my main character. Okay, whatever. All four characters are basically going to be my main character. Okay, it doesn't really matter, but let's just go with the easiest way to set up there. And of course, we could randomize appearance. Very, very cool. I haven't tested using origin characters, but I don't see why that wouldn't work. I just haven't tested it, so your mileage may vary. Please just understand. I've only done it with random, created characters of my own choosing. Okay. The next thing to say is that we want to go to, so obviously once we've actually settled in and chosen all the options, we're happy with that. I'm not going to click proceed at that point. We're just going to make sure that we go to the next instance. And if you hadn't started it yet, go back to your desktop or Explorer window, double click on bg3dx11.exe and start that instance. And you'll come in, you'll choose multiplayer, and at this point you'll click direct connect, and you're going to paste in with Control V. You can paste in the or clicking that button, you can paste in the direct connect ID. And when we click connect, that's gonna, so don't click create or anything like that, just click connect to that ID, and you'll see that that joins us to that multiplayer game. Now we've got two instances, both connected to the multiplayer game, and you'll see that reflected down here at the bottom. Okay, and at this point I'm going to click randomize, and here we go. We've got another warlock. Okay, let's try again. Gold dwarf level 1 monk. Yeah, that looks good. Let's go with that. Okay, and of course we've got two characters. If we go back to the other window, you'll see that that one has actually joined now. And actually there's a little kick icon there, so you could actually boot that character out. We're not going to do that, of course. Then you go to the third instance, so you let that load up, and of course I've done that already, but that would be, again, directly from the executable without going through the launcher, and again, with no Steam running. Make sure that's not running, otherwise this probably won't work. Hasn't worked for many people. I go to multiplayer, I click direct connect, I paste in, I use the button in that case, not Control V, and I click connect. And so now we're joining the game with the third character. Very cool. And now we could go about setting up, whatever character we want. As I say, randomize, I'm just using for the purposes of the speed of this video. You go and you choose whatever you want. Okay, this is going to be an interesting party. Warlock, a sorcerer, and a monk. And so, I'd go through and I would make sure that was happy. And once you actually proceed with the game, that's when it asks you for the name. So we would give the name at that point, unlike how it used to be, okay, which was done, I think, at Origin stage. Go to the fourth window, and obviously if you've chosen 2 or 3 slots, you only have to set up the custom characters at that point. So I'm going to click multiplayer, direct connect. Because I chose 4 slots, I have to join with 4 instances. Okay, and then we're going to have our fourth character joining the party. At this point, we've still got a multiplayer game, and it hasn't saved yet. So if your PC crashed or whatever, you'd have to do this whole process again, unfortunately. We can only really save once we join the game properly and the game runs, and we start on the Nautiloid ship. Okay, so I'm going to, let's just choose Yeah, okay, a bard, a wood half elf level 1 bard. Okay, and at this point, I'm going to go back. So let's just say that I've got 4 characters that I'm happy with. I've chosen all the stuff, and I'm going to go back to the original character. And I know that because we've got the boot. You can't really see it here, but I've got a little boot icon, which means I could kick off these players, because this is the originator of the game. If I go to any of the other windows, there's no boot button there on those windows, but we see that there's 4 players joined. I must now join and proceed with the game on this original character. So I'm going to call this one, let's call it first. Let's call that first character, okay? I know, it's a terrible name. And I'm going to choose a guardian, used to be companion or whatever it was. And I'm going to click venture forth. Okay. Now it says waiting for other players. Why? Because we must go to the other windows and I'm going to click proceed. I'm going to call this second. Remember, this is just for the purposes of this video. You give them nice fancy names of your choosing. Enjoy and go mad with that. Okay, I'm going to click proceed. I'll choose, okay, this one's going to have that guardian, and then waiting for other players. And you can see the ticks are coming up there. And so I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to do the same again, proceed. I'm going to call this third. Click proceed, and I don't know, half elf, doesn't really matter at this point, it's just to show you. And we click venture forth, and now we need the 4th character to join in. That's our monk. And we click proceed, and I'm just going to call this the 4th character so that you know that this is actually working and it's proceeded as planned. I click venture forth, and at this point the game is going to actually start. I'm going to escape through that cutscene, and yeah, very nice. And it's going to take a while. This will take a while. And so what you'll find is that at this point you can kind of make a T, you can hit Alt tabs and just, see how each of the windows is going. They'll proceed at different points, and they should all probably start at a roughly the same point, meaning that, when one loads, all the other ones are going to have loaded. Okay. Luckily, we are helped out by the fact that the full release seems to have cured some of the loading speed issues that we saw in early access. A little bit faster to load these days, or that's how it feels to me anyway, compared to how it used to be. And so this shouldn't take too long. And what I would say at this point is, while it's loading, please understand that remember the slots number. If you chose 4 slots, that's going to have made 4 separate characters, and you're probably not going to be able to have a slot free for companions. So choose your slot numbers carefully when you create your multiplayer game. Okay, and also choose your difficulty carefully when you pick your multiplayer game. And the other thing to say is this is relevant for the game whether you're using this method or not. Choose your race and your look of your character fairly carefully, because most other things can be changed. Class, subclass, and all that kind of stuff can be easily respec'd, but look and race and subrace seem to be kind of locked in, or at least they are at this point. That may change over time. And so we're just waiting for the game to start. Hopefully it should be almost there. And once we're all on the Nautiloid ship, then we know it's good to go. I think we're almost there now. It's probably getting to the point where it's actually going to load in. And I would also say it's great fun to do this now. I don't think it's as necessary as it used to be. Certainly in early access, I wanted to kind of save time and learn about different characters and subclasses, the ones that were available to us. And so it made it really convenient to do that with a full custom party of characters. But now, actually, if you're running a single-player game, it's easy to respec even companions, and also to main character, and also hire hirelings. So that comes very early on in the game, and then it's really not an issue. So if you want to kind of scrub forward on the play meter or play counter until in YouTube till you get to the point where I started the game has actually loaded, then feel free. It should be starting any second now. And this is it. It's pretty much done once we're on the Nautiloid ship. There's just a little bit of the process remaining. Now, that process is the additional steps that you have to do as follows. I like to save, so let it auto save. So you need to move around the ship, at least with the main character, one of your characters. That will save the game locally, okay, as a sort of auto save. I also like to do an actual save because I did one time. I'm not sure if I just kind of exited out of everything or my, you know, computer crashed or whatever, and then I lost all my good work in setting up the characters. It was kind of annoying. So you want to be careful of that. Make sure that it saves locally. I think we're almost there. It sounds like I'm getting some interesting sounds that sound like they're on the Nautiloid ship. So I suspect we're going to be loading in now. But yeah, essentially the remaining steps are make sure that you get it to save locally. And once it's saved locally, we're then going to exit out of the game on the subordinate instances, meaning that we're going to be left with the main copy of the game. So you just, again, that's why I called them first, second, third, fourth, just to make it easy for me as part of this process. But you will want to, you'll have your names of your characters. Just make a note yourself. There is also actually an easy way to spot which one is the main character, the initiating character or the primary instance of the game, because we definitely do need that. Okay, and as I say, it should be starting up any minute now. And so we'll come back when it has loaded. Ah, here we go. There we are. Okay, so you'll see that it actually auto saves at this point, and I'm going to also just escape through this cutscene. Not escape, I'm going to space through the cutscene. There's just two things, and we're spaced through. Um, and you can see that that is indicating that they are joining in and that they're listening to the dialogue. Okay, this is the main character. All right, so if it's called first, you'd obviously just make a note of which one is yours. And at this point, we've also should have a saved game. I'm going to Alt Tab and I'm going to space through for the other three characters. Let's do that. They're watching their animations or cutscenes, I should say. And who's still remaining? Ah, that one. Okay. So the process now is that you will effectively, good thing to do is just run around, make sure that it's done a quick save, and then go back to the main character.
I must find my kin.
All right, so we go back to the main character window. See, I think it's that one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to click save game. And I'm going to make sure that it's got the name of the character. That's always a good indicator. I'm going to click new save, and I'm going to save. Even just once is fine. Okay. You might want to just check it again to make sure your hard work isn't gone. When I click load game, there it is. There. That's fine. So I'm happy with that. Okay. So now what you need to do is you need to exit the game in the second, third, and fourth characters. Okay, or however many you went with. So you Alt Tab to the other window, you click Quit Game. All right, make sure not to do it on your main character. And again, I'm going to do it with the next one, and I'm going to click Quit Game. Yes. And I'm going to do it with the final one, and I'm going to quit game. Yes. Okay, and we should be left with our main character. Okay, so our first character there. And at this point, what I like to do as well, just to make sure, is I click and drag the portraits to group them up. You can also click the toggle group mode to bring them all together. You can click that as a toggle. And then I like to just save once more. Okay. Call me twitchy, I know. As I say, I don't like to lose 20 minutes of work or whatever it is. And then I'm going to run around, and that's cool. And then what ends up happening at this point is you need to exit out so you can quit the game or go back to the main menu. Let's do that. And then what we'll do, so we've exited out of the multiplayer game. And then what you need to do is to actually just go ahead and load the game as though it was a single player game, because in effect it is a single player game. There's one other further step, because remember we aren't we aren't on Steam at this point. And so the saved game is only local and it hasn't been copied up to the Steam cloud for you. So what you might want to do is actually quit out of the game completely once you've established that your load files are there. Remember, if you look at other ones, you'll see that here's an example. I've made some earlier, and there we go. We can't see that they're part of the Steam cloud. When you actually join up to Steam, you'll see that they are actually on the Steam cloud. Not only that, but I've tested it and it with NVIDIA GeForce Now, and I was able to find these loaded into the cloud and available in GeForce Now as a cloud version of the save file as part of my Steam account. But what you need to do is you need to go back and not start it from the executable. You need to go back and go into Steam, load the game, make sure it says cloud saves, are in sync, because what it'll have done is copied up. It might also have to, when you first go into the game, actually copy up the cloud saves, but they should be there. And when you click load game, let me show you what happens. We save this. We've loaded the saved game, and it should bring us back to first, second, third, fourth characters ready to go for us as a saved game. Okay, and a loaded single player game. So even though we created the game in the first instance as a multiplayer game, it's going to be there as a full single player game. You can see I didn't join as I didn't. I'm still actually not even on Steam here, but you would actually be able to go onto Steam and load the game up, and it would come up as a single player game. Now you're actually controlling all the characters, and it doesn't register that they were once maybe it was once a multiplayer game. There are a few interesting differences. You saw like when one character's experiencing a cutscene, or if all of them are, you kind of have to click on each character in the portraits here, and then escape through the cutscene, space through the cutscene, whatever. So there are a few interesting things with this having been a multiplayer game turned into a single player save, but you now have full control of these characters and it's fun. You can go and create your custom party. I hope that was useful, and thanks so much for watching. Obviously, if you've got any questions, drop them into the comments. Happy to answer those. But it is just working as it used to, except for the fact that you can't load the game from the launcher and you mustn't be running Steam, because that seems to possibly also intercept the fact that you're trying to start the game a second or a third or a fourth time. So you can start it locally directly from those executables. And I hope that was helpful. If you liked it, please like, and thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it. See you next time.